Well, looky here, it's already time for the Super Bowl, just days away from Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta. It's the Patriots against the Rams, and we're going to break it down here. We're going to preview it here on NFL in a Flash. Joel Silverberg, Eric Kane, thanks so much for tuning in all season long. And here's the season capper. It's an experienced team. 39 total players on the roster have been to a Super Bowl for the Patriots. 36 have played in the Super Bowl. For Los Angeles, the Rams, only 4. You've got almost David and Goliath, but I don't think there's that much of a disparity on the field. But in terms of experience, that's what it is.
Well, it's what it felt like last year when the Eagles were getting ready to take on the Patriots, and to a degree, it's what it felt like the year before when the Patriots took on the Falcons. And I don't think either team has been fazed by it. Obviously, the Falcons, the collapse was monumental, but they gave the Patriots a run, took the game to overtime, and then the Eagles last year, of course, finding a way to pull out the win. I don't think this Rams team cares that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have been to 8 Super Bowls. Obviously, they are the underdog. There is more Super Bowl experience, and I think that does play a factor. But I don't think the Rams really seem to be concerned about who is on the opposite side of the field.
Both these teams second seeds in the AFC and the NFC. For New England, they took down the Chargers and the Chiefs. For Los Angeles, they took down Dallas and New Orleans. Who's looked sharper so far through 2 games in the playoffs?
I think New England, the way that they came out and handled the Chargers was very impressive when you consider the lackluster way they just routed out the end of the regular season. You know, they ended with 2 division wins, but you're at home. Those teams aren't very good. You had the Miami Miracle collapse a couple weeks before that. You got pounded by Tennessee earlier this season, and you just kind of wondered, well, how good can this team really be? And then they looked sharp early on against Kansas City. They went into the half with a 14-0 lead, and Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense had no answers until the third quarter. And then Tom Brady has to deliver 2 very clutch drives to win it in the end. So I think the Patriots overall have looked like the better team. Mm-hmm. The Rams, now that they're finally fully healthy, I think says a lot about where they've progressed, because in the middle of the season, it looked like, man, this team really doesn't have any depth. When they get beat up, they get beat up bad.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case. But they really, outside of the running back spot, they don't have a lot of depth. But being fully healthy going into the Super Bowl, none of that really matters anymore unless you suffer a bunch of injuries in the first half.
Yeah, both these teams have pretty good backfields. When you look at New England, not always healthy at times. It kind of took a lot of the time to get rolling. But in the playoffs, they're leading all playoff teams in rushing. Or Sony Michel is. Actually, the Rams as a team are, with C.J. Anderson, who came on in Week 14, I believe, pairing with Todd Gurley. So Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel, James White, great pass-catching back out of the backfield. C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley for the Rams. Who would you give the edge to in terms of backfield play?
Overall, I think you would give it to the Rams, because I think Todd Gurley is the best
better
overall
player,
back. And then C.J. Anderson, with what he's done in the short amount of time that he's been in Los Angeles, even when Gurley's been totally absent from the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so in the backfield overall, yes. I think maybe there's I think versatility is somewhat similar. I would still give that edge to the Rams. So when I'm talking about the running back position, I think the advantage goes to Los Angeles.
All right, so quarterback advantage, obviously we're going to go New England, I would assume.
Yeah, because of the experience. Yeah. I think Jared Goff's a really talented quarterback, and he's shown that he can move that offense. But I would still say Brady, because even with the departure of Josh Gordon, when running backs have been beat up, Rex Burkhead gets put on IR at one point during this season. Gronkowski is injured, only has 3 touchdown catches during the course of the regular season, and Tom Brady still finds a way to go out and win games, and then has 2 very, very good playoff performances so far. So quarterback advantage, yes, I think it goes to Tom Brady. I don't think Jared Goff is going to have a bad game. I think Goff's going to come out and play well.
And he has played well. Look at the receivers, a lot of playmakers all over the field. Of course, Brandon Cooks, formerly of the New England Patriots, now with the Rams. Who would you give the edge to in the receiving game? And you throw tight ends in there as well.
I would probably, from a talent standpoint, I'd probably give it to Los Angeles. But I think from an overall scheme standpoint, from a chemistry standpoint with the quarterback, I might give that type of advantage to New England. I see it being a little bit even here. New England obviously has Julian Edelman. They have experience in wide receiver Chris Hogan. But I think when you talk about the playmakers like Brandon Cooks, or with the guys that Jared Goff can throw to, you see a lot of talent. You see a lot more versatility. You see more opportunities to have a deep threat. But with the way that New England is able to run their offense and adjust to different defensive schemes, I still really like what New England has at that position.
Yeah, when you throw tight ends in there as well, you know, Rob Gronkowski, kind of a slow year. Hasn't really always been there this year, kind of unlike Gronk. Usually when he's in the game, he's very effective, but he had a really good championship game. I know a lot of times Eric Berry, the VFL, was matched up against him, and Rob Gronkowski won those battles. So going to be a good matchup there. Defense overall, I'm going to side with Los Angeles. They both in the playoffs have been really stout against the run so far in 2 games. Overall, both these defenses kind of middle of the pack to, back third in terms of overall defenses in the National Football season, regular season. But that defensive line, when it comes down to it, attacking the quarterback. And New England's offensive line has been fantastic, especially in the playoffs. But Dante Fowler Jr., Sue, and then Aaron Donald, 32 TFLs on the season. I think that's going to be the difference maker. So but in terms of that, I think they have the advantage in defensive back play as well. I would give the advantage defensively to Los Angeles, but it's going to be no easy task.
Yeah, and I think with Los Angeles, too, even in games where they've given up a lot of points, like the Kansas City game in the regular season on Monday Night Football.
They created turnovers.
7,
yeah,
to be exact. And so it's a team that, even in a high-scoring game, you look at the Super Bowl last year, yes, the Eagles defense gave up 500 passing yards to Tom Brady, but what did they get when they needed it the most? They got a takeaway. They forced a fumble, they strip-sacked Brady, Derek Barnett falls on the football. So it's a big deal for Los Angeles and the fact that they don't get down on themselves when they give up big plays on defense. They go out and find a way to be able to create a takeaway, create an issue for an opposition. And Kansas City didn't do that when they needed to. Kansas City, Brady started getting on a roll there in the second half. They couldn't stop Tom Brady, and then Kansas City got down on themselves. And then when they had 2 opportunities to get stops to potentially win the game, Brady goes down the length of the field and scores a touchdown, and the Patriots win. I don't think that sort of thing is as guaranteed to happen against this Rams defense, because if they give up big plays, then the Rams know, hey, we can just go out and get a pick at any time. We know that we have the defensive linemen to cause problems in the backfield for Brady. Now, if you can't get to Brady and you're sending the blitz, that's where you run into issues. But this is a defensive line in a front 7 that's good enough where we're going to get pressure on Tom Brady. We're going to disrupt Tom Brady. It's going to happen.
For the 10th straight year, Tennessee, VFL has a representative in the Super Bowl. This year, there's 2. John Kelly of the Rams, who was kind of on the practice squad, didn't dress an awful lot earlier on in the year, but has come on. He's got a couple of rushing attempts so far in the regular season, but he's appeared in both playoff games on special teams. And then you look at Cordell Patterson, who at times this year came up so big when they had depth issues at receiver and in the backfield. He's also returning kicks, so Mr. Do-It-All there. So John Kelly for the Rams, Cordell Patterson for the New England Patriots, your Tennessee representatives. All right, Joel, real quick as we end things out, picks. Who do you have, and what's the score?
I've got the Patriots winning 38-34. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think, and we're still not 100% certain about the usage of Todd Gurley after what happened in the NFC Championship game. I think regardless, the Rams are going to be able to have success on offense because I think they have so much confidence in C.J. Anderson. I would expect, unless we hear something between now and then, I would expect Todd Gurley to play a significant role. And potentially, who knows, if the Rams are able to pull this out, he might be the first running back to win a Super Bowl MVP since Terrell Davis in the late 90s. So I have the Patriots winning. It's just hard to see Brady and Belichick losing back-to-back Super Bowls. And it's the first time that they've ever made 3 consecutive trips to the big game. We'll see if they can get ring number 6. And Brady would be the first player ever to do so, but I have the Patriots winning by 4.
Yeah, anytime you go against Brady and Belichick, they always seem to prove you wrong. I picked them to beat the Chargers earlier in the playoffs. I picked the Chiefs to beat them last week, but certainly a talented team. But I am going to go with Los Angeles. I don't think the moment's going to be too big. I think defensively, like I said earlier, that front 7, particularly that front 4 or 5 on the line, is going to make a difference, depending on how many they put up there at a time. So I think Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, and that defense is going to get it done. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I'll go Rams 31, Patriots 28, and either way, I think it's going to be an epic game. But we will talk all about that next week when we tie a bow on the 2018 NFL campaign, recapping Super Bowl 53 from Atlanta. With Joel Silverberg, I'm Eric Kane. NFL in a Flash. We'll see you next week.